sort of Mercury. So today, we're going to be talking about black holes and gravity in space-time. I want to start off first by saying that I apologize that I've been on a little bit of a hiatus and not been able to make as much content recently as I would have liked. There's some stuff going on in my personal life that has kind of taken some time away from me to kind of focus on this. But I do want to let you guys know that I very much appreciate all of the support you guys give and the creative ideas you guys have for videos in the comment section. It really helps me continue this project and produce content to the best of my ability. So hopefully in the next couple days I'll be able to catch up for lost time, or make up for lost time, and produce some more videos for you. So without further ado, let's talk about space and time first, and then we'll get into black holes. So Einstein talked about space and time acting as this fabric that is distorted by large masses, which in turn produce gravitational fields, which in turn bend space and time. So, and the analogy used for this was almost like if you have a bed sheet and you put a bowling ball on it, like things will orbit or be drawn to that focal point. And this essentially is a phenomenon similar to what happens with our solar system, right? Our planet orbits around the sun. But the interesting thing to note, and the reason why we actually experience time at all, is that we are actually in a time-warped field in which we are seeing almost this time effect from the sun to Earth. So let me explain here. We got our tappy marker. So the space-time continuum is normally flat, in which theoretically time and space should be almost reversible, in which in a sense there is less temporal or spatial effect on that flat space-time continuum, allowing you to move more freely between those dimensions. But because we are on Earth and we're in a solar system with other massive objects, there is this dispersion of gravity throughout the field. And the thing to note is that though we are on the planet Earth, which has gravity, the sun has many more times gravity than Earth does. And as we can see with the orbit, but the thing to note about that is that because the gravitational field is so much stronger here, it creates a bigger divot, and we have a little divot. So we are essentially experiencing time in this one-directional movement because the sun is bending the space-time continuum, or bending time so much that we are experiencing time in relativity to the sun. So we are experiencing time essentially in a medium between this massive object and the flat space-time continuum that Einstein talked about. We are experiencing this little divot. But the reason why we experience our time in one direction is because we orbit this object, which creates the bigger divot, and we are in the little divot. And because we are in the little divot in between this medium and this medium, we experience time in this more almost subjective viewpoint, in which we can experience, cause and effect, for example, right? Or perceived cause and effect. When we talk about a black hole, which is just a very deep bend in this fabric, in which we call this point a singularity, in which it gets to a point in which gravity is so strong that it creates a point of infinite density in which nothing, not even light, can escape the boundary around this point, which is known as the event horizon. I don't know if you can see that. It'll spin around the event horizon. And near the event horizon, the Schwarzschild radius, light cannot escape when it passes that point of no return. So, light, which is the universal constant that Einstein talked about, it cannot even escape this massive object or massive gravitational pull. Then the whole object goes dark, it goes black, because the light cannot escape. So, when we talk about how space and time works, we really need to contemplate what goes on near these massive objects, because they essentially are a prime example of just how space and time operate near very massive objects or very strong gravitational fields. So, again, this is many more times powerful than this, and this is many more times powerful than this. This little dot, just to clarify, this is Earth. So, Earth is probably the closest thing out of all things in this diagram to the flat space-time continuum, where time and space is more traversable between the dimensions, right? So, in any case, we're really talking about a very massive object that is bending the fabric of reality itself, and with that happening, you also get various interesting quantum effects or quantum phenomena near the event horizon, such as virtual particles being, exposed through the radiation that is expelled through the black hole. So, I guess if I were to illustrate this, chair's so loud. I don't know. Chair doesn't have a concept of ASMR, it would seem. But here, there's these things called virtual particles, which occur everywhere in the cosmos. They're around us constantly right now. Pairs of particles popping into and out of existence. And they constantly are popping into and out of existence, constantly popping into existence, and then immediately recombining with each other to cancel each other out. And the basis of this idea is that essentially there's various potentials being created in the quantum field constantly, and with that, these particles are constantly popping into existence from nothing, and then popping back into nothing from existence, because the energy that is created when they pop into existence does not actually exist within the universe yet. It's almost like, think of it as you go to the bank to take out money, but you're borrowing from an account that has $0 in it. So the bank might, give you whatever, money you need, but you have to put back that money, and then you're back at zero, right? So that's the essential concept of what is going on here. You're borrowing against a bank account that has nothing in it. So the net is zero. It comes from a net of zero, and it returns to a net of zero, and therefore zero energy is exchanged throughout this process in which these virtual particles are popping into and out of existence all around us. And the reason why this is so fundamental to understanding the nature of reality is that when you have a massive object like a black hole, and this phenomenon occurs in which the pull is so strong that not even light can escape, the concept is that if you have one of these two particles pass over the point of no return, it curves around. This is a very bad drawing because I'm no artist, but let's just say for in this example, this is like the mouth of the black hole, the point of no return, right? Anyway, so if one of the particle, like this is like, let's say this is like positive matter, this is like antimatter or whatever. These two particle pairs are of opposite nature, and that's why they cancel each other out. One is matter, one's antimatter. So if one part of the particle pair, let's say a piece that is antimatter or whatever, passes over, it really doesn't matter whether it's matter or antimatter. But if one of the two particle pairs pass over the event horizon before it can recombine, then the other must escape into the universe's actual energy. But because that happens, the black hole, because it took in a piece of energy or that was not actually a piece of the universe yet, because again, you're borrowing against a bank account with nothing in it, and before it could go back to zero, half of that particle pair is lost. So now it's almost like the black hole is an energetic debt to the rest of the cosmos or the universe. So therefore, it must give up energy. So, and then it releases radiation, and that's what is known as the radiation that black holes emit. So, when this occurs, black holes actually become somewhat detectable, and we're not going to get into the primordial black holes that are created in the LHC today, because we're just covering the basic concept, even though this is pretty advanced actually. But anyway, point is that these quantum effects are constantly occurring near the event horizon because these particles are constantly popping into and out of existence all around us. So this is why black holes have to radiate away a certain amount of energy, and this leads to paradoxes like the black hole information paradox, which basically says that what happens to the information that falls into a black hole if eventually it's going to evaporate. And that's a whole nother concept to get into, but essentially this is the concept of black holes in terms of how they operate and how they really distort reality based on not just gravity, but these virtual particles that are around the event horizon. So, again, when they radiate away a certain amount of energy, the black hole shrinks, it loses mass. But because black holes are almost constantly sucking in mass, or sucking in matter, it feeds it and the black hole grows. So essentially, the black hole, in order to not lose mass and not evaporate and not basically be erased out of existence and lead to this rip in space-time, or this hole in space-time closing, it must consume matter. But if the black hole does not consume matter, then eventually it will evaporate. In any case, that's the basis of black holes around this concept. Here are just some diagrams about how space and time operate in relativity to us, and how it's defined by speed, for example. Especially when you approach the speed of light, you can almost think of gravity as this one-dimensional thing, and time almost as a circular movement in which, like, for example, things constantly repeat themselves, like the orbit of the Earth around the sun, right? It's a cycle. Same thing with the subatomic particles and the nucleus of the atom, right? Or the atom and the electrons orbiting around the nucleus. In any case, the point is that time is almost this circular force force, or I wouldn't even say force, say this concept. And speed, especially when you approach the speed of light, it distorts this mesh of space and time. And you can even draw a dotted line here down the middle that basically when you approach the speed of light, theoretically as something moves faster, that because it has more energy, this is Einstein E equals mc squared here, that as something has more energy, it has more mass, because mass and energy are connected by the speed of light squared. So theoretically, time bends because as you have a larger gravitational mass, larger mass, that creates a stronger gravitational pull, which in turn slows down time. So as you approach the speed of light, time slows down, and which is why, as this effect of speed is happening and you approach the speed of light, it's almost like you're pushing the fabric of reality closer and closer together until you get this point. And when we talk about, almost, like say for example, like, in spirituality, third eye or whatever, ajna or agna, we are essentially talking about a similar concept in which things, when they approach the speed of light and the energy in your body is aligned to be aware of this kind of movement of energy, it's pushing the dimensions closer and closer together, the energy closer and closer together, which is why the pineal gland can essentially secrete all the chemicals into your bloodstream that you need to, basically perform various functions, whether that's, psychic intuition, or whether that's creating chemicals in your bloodstream that heal the body, or whether that's expressing various types of DNA or DNA within the bloodstream. It's actually shown that I don't want to get too deep into this, but essentially things like meditation can in turn affect the epigenetic switches that control the genome expressions. In English, that means that when you perceive the environment a certain way, it toggles the switches on your genetic makeup on or off. So let's say that muscle relaxation or your muscle tension is connected to a part of the genome expression. It could toggle the switch so the muscles relax, or it could toggle the switch so let's say you have anti-stress chemicals secreted into the bloodstream, or your genetic makeup is more resistant to stress effects or whatever. That's all something that can be controlled by the genome, and because the way you perceive the environment creates the chemicals that are then released into the bloodstream, which controls the genome expression. This effect can happen. Essentially, I digress, but the point is that because light is the determining factor up here at the point, since light is the determining factor of what you perceive in the environment, it is the ultimate pinnacle of controlling how the DNA and the body and consciousness and that concept of physiology and psychology overall is expressed. So space and time comes back into the human body in a very unique way, and they even theorize that consciousness could be linked to some kind of quantum effects in the field, because consciousness we still don't fully understand yet. In any case, going back to gravity, which is already enough of a complicated subject by itself, we have this effect where we can see this distortion of the fabric of reality taking place. So, though black holes might not directly be, some kind of means for time travel, or, let's say, effects that create distortions in the fabric of reality. So it's surmisable that certain interesting effects could happen here. It actually is possible to utilize a black hole for time travel to the future. If you were to circle a black hole, because, like, let's say for a year, because the gravitational field is so strong and is much stronger than Earth, if you circled a black hole for a year, you can come back to Earth and maybe 100 or 1,000 years have passed on Earth. So, time travel to the future is possible with a black hole, but it's a one-way trip, of course. In any case, backwards time travel is not something we'll get into today, but let me know in the comments below if you would like to see a video on that. Let me know also too if you find these concepts interesting around black holes and the fabric of space and time. In essence, though, this is really how the essence of space and time operate to a great degree. In any case, this is not the last we'll talk about black holes on this channel. I will do a video very soon about essentially what is taking place with the primordial black holes that are created inside the particle accelerator at CERN. So we will talk about that in a video coming up. If you like this content, especially around black holes and space and time, I encourage you to check out my other channel, Moonstruck, which I'll link in the description below. I did recently produce a video about black holes, which is an hour long, and it's a bit more in depth and a bit more cohesive and comprehensive than this video. So if you like black holes and you want to hear more about the physics of it, I encourage you to check out that video. You can also check out the link to that on DC Media Hub, which I will also link in the description below. And I encourage you to like, subscribe, because it does help support the channel. Let me know what other content you would like to see coming up. Let me know if you like me talking about physics, especially concerning space and time and gravity and all these factors. In any case, just for reference, this is not so much hardcore physics. This is more hardcore physics. This is more just like my representational of how we as humans can understand space and time relative to us. Space and time is a very complex concept to understand, and because for the most part it is beyond a lot of our mental faculties to comprehend. So we are kind of pushing the limits of what we are consciously able to understand, which is why a lot of the rules of physics break down when you get near a black hole. I digress. If you like this video, once again, I encourage you to like, subscribe. This has been The Sword of Mercury, brought to you by the Prince of Mercury, and I hope to see you in the next video. Once again, please help support the channel by liking and subscribing, and check out my other videos on this channel if you like this type of content, and I will see you guys soon. Bye bye.